where we get a European trophy. So that's something else. But yeah, we are going to look at Gaming 33. We are going to focus morely on the Premier League. A little bit an early insight and deep dive into what we could probably expect Gaming 33. So Gaming 32 was pretty. I would say it was decent, right, Sankalp? I think some games went pretty much according to the sort of script, but we saw a little bit funny results. Uh, Obviously, on Sunday we saw two crushing results. Obviously, United managed to stop Liverpool once again,
Yeah,
and
go United.
yeah, yeah. At one point of time, I'm pretty sure you and the City fans would have been like completely so happy, but
Yeah, yeah,
nevertheless, still they drop points. So I mean,
yeah, yeah. Funny
and
week, for sure. Right, not a lot of points. I thought it was decent. Salah was the most popular captain. He ended with 8 points. I'd gone with Son, who had 5 points. Saka did, he came on, he scored a penalty. He ended with 10 points. Haaland scored a goal somehow, right? Kevin De Bruyne massacred Palace, but most of us don't have him. Foden, I think, was rested or something. It's a decent week. Not a lot of things to complain. I think most of the people have like 50 odd points, right? So if you're chasing, nothing to be happy about. But if you're someone who's consolidating, I think you should ideally be happy.
yes, I mean in terms of Game Week 32's, as you select, kind of summed it up well. The first game, Palace City, obviously it was the KDB show. Typical KDB, right? Towards the end of the season, he started doing something, and that's what he started. Aston Villa, Brentford, again, only Watkins. I mean, he did score a brace. So again, it kind of hurt people, but nevertheless, most of the managers shipped him out for Salah. So I think not a big damage, but sort of Watkins is proven to be great so far this season. And Everton managed to beat Burnley 1-0 with a courtesy of a Calvert-Lewin goal. Again, he's trying to play well, and they did keep a clean sheet. Fulham at home, they lost to Newcastle. Luton beat Bournemouth at home. West Ham beat Wolves. Brighton lost to Arsenal at home, and Arsenal kept a clean sheet, which I mean, was it really that surprising? I mean, we did see the odds last week when we were discussing on it, and they did keep. So, kudos. I mean, Arsenal defensively, I think they're the highest goal scorer as well as they've kept the most clean sheets, right? I mean, so if you see data wise, I think they deserve to win the league. I mean, it's common sense. If you have these two things, that means you're doing something right.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I was surprised with the clean sheet, but I thought it was a very tricky match. It wasn't easy at all. I think we were 1-0 till the 60th odd minute, and then Kai Havertz scored that second goal, and then things were much more balanced because it helped Arsenal sit back tight. But happy with the defensive performances. I only have Gabriel. A lot of people have gone and developed, and there's not a high potential develop, but it's something that is sticking along, right? Every week you can get two clean sheets, if you go on a defensive develop. But Kai Havertz, man, a lot of people are now talking about him as a FPL asset. So we'll talk about differences, but I think we'll start seeing a higher number of transfers now in his kitty.
yeah, Arsenal or Arsenal, they're starting to look. Obviously they're playing well so far this season. Havertz, like some of them are saying that he's probably found the right position to play and blah blah blah, blah and all those things. But I think predominantly Havertz is someone like who plays like a false nine-ish role, someone who's in the attack more or less.
Yeah.
So if he plays there, obviously he's going to score goals. I mean, that's what is happening, and then obviously, the next game on Sunday, obviously, three games on Sunday is what we had. I think United Liverpool, we just touched upon it briefly. Salah captain us still at one point. We were like, I think I just literally gave up. I was like, it's okay, fine. If he blanks everybody, it's a blank for everyone, it's okay. But you get a typical penalty and manages to get the 8 points out of nowhere. So, but he did have a lot of attempts and it
Oh,
wasn't that convincing. His finishing was off pretty much that game, but I mean, that's the joke, right? Just
First
need
half,
one.
I think he kept trying. He just kept shooting along, good, bad, on target, without target. He didn't
Just
bother
make the
much.
story go. Yeah. Then obviously Sheffield Chelsea, interesting game. Chelsea dropped points. Gusto was rested, is what Pot said, that he was ill for the two games, so he was rested. So he's not injured, so he'll be back. And Palmer did get an assist, so I mean, still not bad for that value. And then last but not the least, Spurs, managed to beat Forest and Wood again. Yet he kept on scoring. He's on a good streak at the moment, and as we discussed last time, Forest fixtures, they look kind of favorable for the next 2 weeks. So if you want to punt, he's still a great option. And Pedro Porro scored, so that was an important goal for me. And so I finished on 75 points, and just purely it's Pedro Porro and some of the other guys. Otherwise, I would just be. I mean, if Dubravka clean sheet, I mean, 9 pointer out of nowhere. So a few things just went right, and hopefully things go well. And off, I think we touched upon game week 32 briefly. Let's look at the talking points. What we're going to cover in this episode, we're going to look at the trends. We look at the fantasy challenge or the FPL challenge for this week. That's sportsmanship, and we'll touch upon game week 33. We look at Sankalp's wildcard drafts. He has two up, and he's on a wildcard with the wildcard 33, uh, and bench pushed. I think 34 is what he's saying. I think that's what his plan was last week. I think he's going to continue the same.
Yeah,
And it's
just
costing
keep it
3.
simple.
All right. So here are the trends, and we look at the out so far. Obviously, Luis is suspended. Pawan went off injured. Areola is injured. Sun is purely because of the plank in 34, and they play Newcastle away. It's an early kickoff as well. I don't know how much people are thinking, and what is. I mean, it's not that favorable, so people are shipping him out. And those are going to free hit in 34 or wildcard in 35 will just dead end their teams at this point. So there's probably just maybe getting in KDB for a week or so, something like that. And Trippier obviously is out. I don't know what's the latest on him, but the FPL website says he's out for about a week or so, something. We'll know more. And transfer trends, the ins, I mean, Palmer, Watkins, KDB, Foden, and Saka, pretty much typical template names, apart from Kevin De Bruyne. And he was so good against Palace. I mean, he was just oozing that game. And the only problem with me is that there is a point in the season right up towards the end, this part where KDB just falls. But today's game matters a lot, the way City play and the result. And we are going to have a headache, especially City playing at home against Luton. I think some of the prime assets might be rested if the tie is depending on, I mean, the next leg. Obviously, City's home leg. But both they're going to play home games, so we don't know what Pep is going to do.
Yeah, I think it's a very if you get the assets right, obviously you can have a good luck, right? But it's very difficult to. A lot will depend on today's match, and if it's very close, ideally I would avoid. And I know people are already jumping on KDB, but I feel like he's the most. He will have the highest probably perhaps to be rested, right? I'm sure Pep will want him to play both the Real Madrid matches, till the maximum number of minutes possible. And unless today, City really cruise along and really score a lot, which I don't think, I think Madrid will keep it tight. So unless something like that happens, I think KDB will be rested. Foden depends. He already had one rest, so I think that's a benefit. He's a younger player. He's not injured so far, so I think that works in his favor. But KDB, I'm way more worried about going against the Luton match.
That's the typical problem. And obviously, I think in terms of City's defense, I think Edison should be back. And this is what he didn't train, but he traveled, so he should be there. The only problem is I think Walker and Ake are still out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we don't know how what's going to happen. I mean, the results matter a lot. for Man City. Okay, so that's done with the trends. Let's look at fantasy challenge, and if I just quickly check for this week, it's as we said, it's sportsmanship, and yeah. So the rules, I mean, pretty much the rule for this week is that red cards are worth -8 and yellow cards are worth -5. I mean, it's uh, I don't know what's this, to be honest.
So I
Uh,
think you just have to play it the way you play it, right? You cannot predict red cards and yellow cards, but there are some players who generally pick it up, right? So you cannot go Paulinia, you
the
cannot go.
issue this season is that for any small things that players are getting booked, obviously for a descent and all the other things, but obviously now we're pretty much right closer to the end of the season, so the players are used to it and they know what they should and should not do. But I mean, this more so far has been like, I mean, what do you feel so far? I mean, it's gone for up 31, 30, 31, and 32, right? So we've had so far 3 weeks of this. How do you feel? I mean, I feel like this is not an enticing, and the amount of time that we spend, you know, thinking and planning about the main FPL team, this gets a bit in the way. But obviously, it's fun that you can try to build the best team for a particular week. But when you start looking at this squad and you start getting doubts on your main squad as well, like, oh, I don't have this guy here, and so what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think. I think this is meant for fun, right? The idea is by this time of the season, most of the managers start dropping off, right? 50% of the managers don't play, and that's why a lot of dead teams are hurting us. With Watkins, with Haaland captain, they're still hurting us. So, uh, and that's the reason I feel. I think they want to keep engaging the managers, right? And they introduce something fun. I don't spend more than 5 minutes on it. Just look at best fixtures, see where you want to do, have some fun. That's all.
Okay, yeah, I think that's rightly said. Even I just created this draft like half an hour back or so. Just quickly went through the fixtures. Okay, these are the players that checked out. And here is your 11. I think you should have Pickford. Ooh, Pickford and Robertson, White, Talot, Salah, Diaz, Havertz, Odegaard, Darwin, Alvarez, Solanke. I mean, all are. I mean, except Aston Villa at home. Uh, that's an interesting game for Arsenal this week. I mean, we look at Gameweek 33, but the rest all have favorable fixtures. Like obviously, the two easy game on paper would be, I think, City one against Luton and Liverpool's one against Palace. So I think that's why I've gone with most of them. And you're an Arsenal fan, so gone with them.
Yeah, right. Having fun. But I think there'll be a couple of changes that I'll do. Maybe I'll play Regulan ahead of Dallo, maybe, right? And I would love to play Garnacho, man, but I don't know who I should play him instead. I cannot bench Solanke. Right? Feels like a striker, and I know United will give chances. Right? So I think he'll be my first bench. But other than that, the it's a good team for the week at least.
Okay, so here's my team. I think it should be pretty much similar. Is it that blur? I'm not sure. If it's that blur, then I'll just read it out. It's Flecken in goal with Mahales, Bradley, and Akanji. I think Trent is back in training. I'm not 100% sure. I think we'll get more info and more update later. I'm not sure, but it's Bradley for now. Followed by Salah, Garnacho, Palmer, Foden, and Chaka, and Haaland and Wood. And I mean, it's playing a bit different. That's it. The bench, if I want to read it, so Stefan Ortega, René Van Hecking, and Rodrigo Muniz. And I still have 2 million in the bank, but I'm not sure what to do. Okay, so I mean, yellow cards and all, we'll see, but some of the players are just like Bruno. And Bruno and all is someone who will just get booked unless he does some descent, but
Yeah.
it's kind of reduced for now. Okay, now since we touched upon that, let's see. Yeah, now game week 33 fixtures. and now we'll know whether our picks made sense or not. So the first game itself is Newcastle against Spurs, and more or less it's an important game for Spurs because they need to just cement their position. Obviously, they are in a fight between Villa and to nail the top for the fourth spot. So it's an important game for them. Obviously, Brentford, Sheffield is. I mean, Sheffield. It's we all know what's going to happen probably. And the Brentford, they just need to finish the season well and just keep on getting the points. Burnley against Brighton, the same thing. It's an important game for Brighton, which they have to wake up. They've been a little bit inconsistent so far this season, so it's an important game for them. Burnley the same way. Manchester United, I'm not going to talk a lot. Forest against Wolves game. Nuno going back to his sort of favorite Premier club, I would say. Wolves. Bournemouth against Man United. And a very important game for United, who lost the earlier reverse fixture at home. So they have a point to prove. And the fixture run for United starts to get better now. I think apart from the Arsenal game in 37.
Yeah.
So for them, it's all our must-win games so far. It's the remainder of the season. I mean, Arsenal game, I don't know what's going to happen, but just need to win all the games. Liverpool, Palace, Liverpool drop points, so they need to make up. West Ham versus Fulham. West Ham are also somewhere, fighting for the European spot. 6, 7 spot. So for them, it's important. Arsenal, Villa, uh, very, very important game for both the teams again. Arsenal title race, Villa fourth position, Chelsea, Everton again. I mean, Everton got 2 points deducted, so I think whenever the points get deducted, they play the next game well or something. I'm not sure. So I don't know what's going to happen, but probably the standout fixture of the week would be Arsenal against Villa, Emery, back at Emirates, and that's a very important game, right? Sankar?
Yeah, Arsenal, Villa, and Newcastle Spurs. I think two standout fixtures for this week, right? Where you might get a lot of points as well. I never know. I think Spurs are also chasing the fourth spot. So but Newcastle away is never an easy fixture at all. Right? I think it's one of the few fixtures we have lost this season. Arsenal have a point to prove, especially after losing to Villa as well last season. I think somewhere in the month of December we lost the away match 1-0. So I'm banking on that revenge factor a bit for us to go back a bit strong. But the, and again, I think Villa are very strong at home, but away their record is still a bit dicey, and that's the reason I think Arsenal can look to consolidate a bit, but it will be tricky. They are a well-oiled machine. They press really, really strong. So there'll be, at least for neutrals, I think there'll be a lot of fun, and I'm sure the Liverpool fans this time would be, sitting and praying that Arsenal drop points, like we were doing for the United Liverpool match. Right, but point-wise, I think Liverpool Palace, like you said, Klopp would be extremely, strong on his players. Would have told them, hey, you're gonna drop points in this title race. It's just going to hurt us a lot. So I feel that there are a lot of good points there in the Liverpool Palace match, and rest of the fixtures. I think we are talking about City Luton. It's very difficult. I know there are points. It's just you have to guess. Do you want to go Doku and hope that he gives you something? Do you want to go Grealish and have fun, have punt? Those kind of decisions you have to make. But other than that, I think now is the time that you need to start looking into these narratives, right? Look at who's in the title race, who's in the top four race, which teams are on beach, move out of them, right? So those are the phenomenons where end of the season, discussions or end of the season themes that we see every season after, year after year.
I mean, there's one question in the chat that's like, would the game be managed by Arsenal sandwich between the UCL ties?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately we don't have that much space, right? It's just a 1 point lead, so it's like non-existing lead we have at the table. So I think everyone will be playing. Unfortunately, if by any chance we run away with the lead. We have a 2-0 cushion, something like that. Arteta might again take out Saka a bit early, stay strong in the defense, etc. But it's very difficult to take these decisions given the fact where we are in. Right, so that's the reason. Again, I think while we are in a bit early with this podcast, but we have to pay a lot of attention to the Champions League matches, see how teams are. In case a team has done really well in the first leg, then maybe you have a better view of how things will happen, what the coaches will take decisions. But it's difficult. So Champions League matches are generally tricky, are generally very close, and it makes the lives of the coaches even way more difficult into the weekend, right? So uh, I think this is perhaps one of the reasons that you have to think a bit about where you are going in the attack, or are you going to captain. So for example, I think Liverpool assets look way more safer for me from a captaincy point of view. At the same time, also given the fact that they drop points, I feel like they have that revenge thing. They will want to play strong. Arsenal, while I feel we would like to go after Villa, difficult captaining these assets because you don't know what are the minutes that you'll get.
Yeah, exactly the same issues with City against Luton. So, I mean, purely based on how the result goes today, they're going to see who's going to play, who's not going to play. And that's going to be like make or break for most of the managers because we're going to have a lot of assets tied up in especially both these teams. With City, I think at least managers have two players from City, Haaland, Foden, or one of the defenders along with that combination, or at least one. And from Arsenal, obviously, we have managers that have double defense or with Saka or something like that. But so potentially four players from both these teams, and if they get benched or rushed or something like that, I mean, you lose a chunk of points from these players who, I mean, so far have been very consistent, right? So it will hurt your overall score.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens tonight first. Okay, now we'll come to probably the most interesting part of this pod or the stream is wildcard draft. So a lot of managers, I mean, decided to wildcard in either 30 or 31 or now probably 35 is the last spot to do it. But you've picked up 33, and what's the sort of thinking? What's the reason? I mean,
Uh,
obviously, apart from bench boost in 34, or some are even seeing bench boost 35 based on the sets. So,
So, problem for me is, 35 and 37, there are a lot of teams which I don't trust. Like, for example, if I bench boost 35, I'm heavily dependent on Chelsea and Spurs to do well, which I'm not confident about. I mean, I know Spurs will do well, but Spurs also have two teams are playing each other, Chelsea and Tottenham. Spurs have Arsenal visiting, so not at all easy. And Chelsea are going Villa away, right? So that takes things out of context for 35 at least. 37, I feel it's a bit tricky. Generally you have Champions League semi-final matches around that time, right? So if you are with a team like City or at least City, right? So City are the biggest team there, and you may not see a lot of players playing the match against Fulham, for example, right? I think players might be rested for the Fulham match while they go out and play the Tottenham match, right? So a bit of dynamics in play, or you need to trust again the United boys or the Newcastle boys, Brighton boys, not really gung ho about them, right? So that's the reason. One of the reasons I wanted to bench was bench boosting in 34 and 34. Why I'm bench boosting is I trust Liverpool and Arsenal way more from a team point of view. So two teams instead of one. 37 has only City, 34 has Liverpool and Arsenal, and now things are so strong. For example, because everyone is still is in title race, I feel minutes are way more secured compared to 37, where by any chance say City drops out of the title race, they'll not be interested to put their first XI players. They would rather be interested for Champions League. So those kind of things, I don't want to get into that. At the same time, I think wildcard works best over a few matches, right? Uh, So the more the weeks that you give, like 4, 5, I think 5 to 6 weeks are generally ideal for a wild card to show its impact. And if I do it in 36, for example, 35 or 36, not exactly the same, right? So these are some of the reasons that I thought, let me go a bit early. Of course, the other being my own team. I think it's in samples and it needed some restructuring. So I was just looking forward to make those changes as well.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes sense. The only issue is that the rotation worries what you said, right? In 37. So even, but it's the gamble that you need to take, right?
Yeah.
If let's say both the big boys who are playing get knocked out, the dynamics is totally changed, right?
Correct. If say
And
for example
the
City's
focus
out,
is
City's out and they're still in the title race, the first exercise is going to play both the weeks. But I think we'll have that information in advance, and I can plan those moves as well. Right? So that's a bit helpful. Uh,
yeah. Now we'll go to your draft. Okay, I'll let you explain it. I'll let you walk us through it.
yeah, for fairly a lot of red, but fairly simple. I want to focus on Arsenal and Liverpool. Right, that was the entire reason of doing a wild card now, because I can bench boost next week. So you can see a midfield which has basically four players from Liverpool and Arsenal attack: Saka, Odegaard, Diaz, and Salah. And then you have Garnacho as a fifth midfielder for me. Darwin is there as my Liverpool forward. I decided to go triple attack on Liverpool because in defense, I think they have been a bit shaky. They have conceded goals. I'm not really trusting them for the clean sheet, so I'm going triple attack. With Arsenal, it's a different case, so I kept my Gabriel because I've got him cheap. I think there's no reason to sell him now. Uh, I think United I've got primarily because of the fixtures. They have two good fixtures, even though they don't have double game week. Uh, I think it's Bournemouth and Sheffield United next at home, right? And that's the reason I thought, hey, let me take that risk. It's okay. Apart from that, if I look at the team, I have Everton, couple of players from Everton, primarily because that's a double game week, and I think Everton do have a good double game week. And given the fact there's another 2 point deduction, I expect them to do something. So if you see, Everton has actually have a double home advantage. They apart from Wolves, they are the only team with double home advantage, and that's the reason I went with them. I DCL is decent pick. It's very punty. You never know whether he gets injured by the time those double game week comes, but just gone there for the
That's the
time.
gamble.
Yeah, that's the game, right? So Forest at home is what you will like to attack, and Liverpool at home is why I've kept Pickford. Right, I hope that Salah continues his 20 shots, and Pickford gets those saves, and that's why I have Milenko as well. Apart from that, Judge Zaba is a player that I've had. Again, they have a double game week. Solanke I have, and Wolves I have not gone. I don't know exactly where to go with Wolves. They're a very difficult team to call out now. If there was Neto playing, I would have gone there, but Neto is out. So I've just gone with one defender, Kilman for now, and I'm hoping that he gives me something out of it.
Yes, I mean, from Wolves, I think Huang and Cunha, I think they're back, but to what extent they're going to play, that's
Yeah.
the thing.
Correct. And I'm still thinking about something, for example, Palace, right? Palace do have a home game as well. So Eze is someone I'm looking at, and I'm thinking about maybe Garnacho moves to Eze, and I have to take that call. So couple of tweaks here and there. This is my first main draft, but there's another draft that I have as well, where there are a few more tweaks.
Yeah.
So this is my secondary draft where you can see I have the added advantage of going for someone like KDB. Say for example, the Madrid games look out. Say City looks out, so I can go for KDB instead of uh, someone else. Diaz as a cheap enabler, and then defense I can tweak it a bit, and because I'm taking out Diaz, I can go with someone like Robertson. Right. And here I have Kai instead of Odegaard. Again, Kai and Odegaard is something that I'm still debating. I have had Odegaard for some weeks, but I think Kai is a very interesting point to make because his number nine position feels pretty much solidified.
So both the drafts are Haaland less,
Yes.
and you have KDB here.
Yeah.
So it's just here that you're going to work the transfers and work your way up to 37, right?
Okay.
And build the team based on whatever information we have.
Correct, correct. I mean, you have money to play around, and especially if you're wildcarding now, I think we have seen Haaland, and he doesn't look like a guy who's exploding. It might change. And For me, I'm chasing the game, so it just makes sense to take that money out of Haaland and start putting it around and see how it goes. So, with a bench boost in mind next week, it just doesn't make sense to have Haaland or go heavy on City. But the idea is, 36, 37 is when I have to plan and start getting those moves back.
So since we are on wildcard draft and we should be talking about player selections and differentials is something very important, right? I mean, obviously you will be hoping to have one or two players who are a little bit, not a templatey, and you just like are hoping and rooting, right? To get you points. And I see one guy there. I mean, probably just sort of a differential. I would say is Ben Brereton Diaz, who's five, who's playing forward, and if we look at their fixtures, obviously in 34, they have a double, but it's just Burnley and United. But post that, I mean, it's like on and off. But he's someone who's been like giving points. So that's one. And what else? I mean, any other picks that looking? Obviously, I can see that you have Robertson and all the second draft.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to start thinking around the double game week, right? So primarily, that's the reason I have Liverpool bias. I think there's a possibility they change the style a bit, and generally Everton and Liverpool are very low-end matches, right? So it's generally I think of them as a 1-0 kind of a match, and 1-0 to Liverpool sort of a match. So that's the reason I am okay going for a Robertson, and you hope that eventually over the next few weeks, Klopp focuses on keeping the defense tight and not really going crazy attack. Right? And maybe if you see that switch, you make those switches, right? Other than that, yeah, you if you're going wildcard, you need to put in a few differences. If in this draft, for example, I have Kai, I have KDB, I have DCL. I also have someone like Robertson and Milenko, and also at the back, I think Pickford or Henderson. They are all differences, right? So, if I'm doing a wildcard now, I want to keep 4 to 5 differential assets or 3 to 4 for the double game week, and then start, winding my team down, saving money to make those eventual city transfers.
Yes. But the only thing is that you don't have someone like Cole Palmer and all the other guys, typical template names. But I think with Chelsea doubling later, I think you might just ship out one of
35.
these guys and get them in.
35 is that move that I'll make. Fifth midfielder, whoever that player is, will go out for Palmer. I have the money for that.
Saved 1.5, 1 mil like that. Okay. So interesting. I just go through this draft and I I mean overall I think the first draft is the one that is it's okay, but the only thing is that you don't have any city player for this game week, and if they go berserk, uh, that's the problem.
Yeah, I have to see out this match, for example, today, and then tomorrow, if I see, hey, City have really scored a lot of goals and they don't care about the home match, then maybe I'll tweak and bring in KDB or someone. But as of now, I'm comfortable thinking, this game is going to be tight, and the City will want their first exit players to again come back midweek, and that's the reason. I'm punting on that for now.
Okay, so I think we're done with your drafts, and So we'll go up to our bus team. Obviously, we are on a wild card, so there's just one bus team that's mine. And the problem that I have is I have two free transfers for this week, and I don't know what to do. And I'm going to be 34 free hit, 35 wild card, 37 bench boost, and I don't know what to do with two free transfers now.
So you have to have fun, right? Basically, the idea is to have fun. Uh,
Okay, but
uh,
who goes out? What two changes I have to do?
I think Foden and Haaland, unless you have a lot of money, you can take them out. Obviously, as of now, you don't do anything. You wait it out. But post this Champions League match, getting closer to the deadline, if we get any news, Haaland, I don't expect Haaland to play for sure. I expect Alvarez start. So and Foden might play, but say someone like Diaz, right, is looking more and more explosive every week. Palace at home, I'm comfortable go doing a Foden to Diaz, someone like that. Right. Haaland is the trickier one. Primarily is where you want to go is the thing, right? Uh, but if you are playing free hit next week, you don't have a lot of burden, so you can have fun. You can even do a Haaland to Wood this week.
No, no. I don't know. That's the thing. The only issue that I feel in this team is obviously with City, you need to see who plays and who doesn't. But the issue is that they play kind of later on Saturday, not the early kickoff. So even if we get few rumblings here and there, it's going to be tough. And
Yeah,
the
but
only place I would like to change would be the goalkeeper, but I
hmm,
don't have anything. I just have point one, and that's it. It's going to give me
yeah,
nothing
yeah,
at this.
I think players like Doku, right? You can punt. Uh, I expect him to start the Luton match, right? And there will be something, some kind of fun for him. It's a 1 week punt, so I would say take risk because you are anyways free hitting next week. You don't need that extra transfer, and then it's a wild card. So have a bit of fun. Go explosive. Pick out those kind of options because there are points to be made. This is the end of the season. If you're not going to take risk now, when will you take it?
Yeah, you rightly said, but to take risk, you need to have like some players in mind. I don't see a lot. Obviously, with Doku and all, we're just dependent on the others getting a rest.
Yeah.
And
But
let me check.
Diaz is a good move, I think. Diaz
Yeah,
for me.
I am looking at that, but let's see. I think Foden might play this game, and KDB might
Foden
get
might
rest.
play. Foden might play. To be honest.
Yeah. As we said, right, it's all dependent on the results.
Yes.
How the result goes for both Man City and Arsenal.
Hmm.
We'll see what kind of the team we're going to see. Obviously, this is there, but obviously, the title is at stake, right? You can't just slip up there.
Yeah.
And how strong their squad is to rotate matters. And let's
Yeah.
see what happens. Okay, I think we are done. Yeah, run for the stream. And to some of which is spoke a bit on differentials, and we looked at Sankalp's wildcard draft or drafts. And before we wind up, Captaincy. So who was your armband on? I saw in one draft it was Garnacho. I don't know if this just
I think I missed changing it. It's on Salah for this week, and I think it's going to stay on Salah.
okay. That makes sense. Not going to deny it, but for me it's on Haaland, and depends on whether he plays or he doesn't.
Yeah.
Based on that, obviously Salah is the backup option.
Correct. I think Haaland is a safe option because if he doesn't play, I don't think Pep will give him any minutes. I don't expect him to come off the bench. So if he doesn't play, he doesn't play. So Haaland is a safe captaincy chip. You can put the vice captaincy on Salah or someone else, and the seat out.
Okay, all right. So we're done for this episode. A little bit early, but nevertheless, it's better to be early than to be too late. And we'll be back next week, pre-game week 34. Obviously, I'll be on a free hit. We'll see We get some different picks other than the template ones that have been floating around for the last few weeks. We see whether Pepper Red actually happens in the weekend, how well the Champions League games go for both the Premier League teams,
Yeah.
and whether that makes any impact in the weekend games. And yeah, that's it. Hopefully you all have a great game week 33. Hopefully Sankalp's wildcard goes well, and fingers crossed. I want to see some differential picks in our final team.
Yeah, yeah. I'll share the final team on Twitter for sure. But best of luck to all the wildcarders. I see Yas is also on wildcard, and we have been talking a lot about some players we can go and not. Let's see how things go.
Okay, with that, we're done for this particular episode stream. We'll be back for next week. Until then, have a great game week 33.